What is up, YouTube, and welcome to this unbearable weight of a massive talent breakdown and review. I've been hyped for this mainly because I am a huge Nicolas Cage fan, with Face Off and National Treasure being two of my favourite movies, and I'm still holding out for another National Treasure movie because they are so much fun. I was also hyped, obviously, due to Pedro Pascal playing this supposedly crime boss who is obsessed with Nicolas Cage. Pedro is superb, and I've been a fan of him since Narcos, and naturally as a Star Wars obsessive, I loved him in The Mandalorian, and of course Game of Thrones. This is very much a love letter to Nicolas Cage's work, and funny enough, he did turn down the movie a few times before the director wrote him a personal letter imploring him to play himself. Now, Nicolas Cage is desperate to get a role in an upcoming movie, but is tormented by his inner self, which is a younger version of his 80s, 90s Cage, enthusiastic movie star, which is from his wild at heart era, while also having trouble at home connecting with his kid, as he seems to just lecture her on movies and have a tumultuous relationship. The counselling was humorous, and I liked how Cage talked about how people criticise him for working too much, and of course Cage is one of the hardest working actors, but he's racked up quite a lot of misses after some great stuff in the 80s, 90s and early 2000s. After disgracing himself at his daughter's party and missing out on a dream role, he accepts the offer of a personal appearance at a rich person's party as he has money troubles, and has decided it'll be one last payday before he retires so he can be a better dad. This leads him to Mallorca, which I've been to many times and I absolutely love it. I'm going there again soon. And this was actually Dubrovnik in Croatia, where it was filmed, somewhere I'm sure Pedro knows all too well after his Game of Thrones role. One thing I found odd was how the CIA were expecting the Napoli crime boss, who is eager to merge both crime empires. Of course, I didn't know what he looked like, but they didn't know that Cage was coming. And yeah, I found that really, really weird. It was like a weird part there for me. And I found the CIA's subplot a bit weak. And no fault of Haddish and Barinholtz, who himself is long overdue a big role in a movie. They aren't fleshed out too much, which really would have taken away. So it's a bittersweet thing there. Would have taken away from Pedro and Cage, who tear it up. I loved how Hafi was too nervous to meet Cage, but finally does and is egged on to share his screenplay by his lover, who he can't be with. And the first night they spend together is hilarious, as Cage's switch from hungover guy to action star was great. But when they first meet, he does jump in the pool just like Leaving Las Vegas. Also, it's too good seeing them discuss the virtues of Paddington 2. I mean, it is sitting at 99% on Rotten Tomatoes there. And Cage agrees to read the script, and Nicolas Cage has his inner monologue there, urging him to do more action movies, as in recent years he's been making more oddball movies. It's here he is abducted by the CIA operatives and informed him that Hafi is a brutal cartel leader and has kidnapped the president of Catalonia's kid to force a more sympathetic to the cartel president. This is what we see at the start, and she is a huge Cage fan, which I kind of expected to have her meet him a bit more throughout the movie there, but she was just in awe of him in the end, and that's it. Your boy Cage doesn't believe this is the case, and we find out at the end that Hafi is just a front for the organisation, as his cousin Lucas runs things from the shadows, who himself looks like an extra in a Nicolas Cage movie in the 90s. He's given the task of trying to find the kidnapped girl, which he tries to and goes to hack the cameras. I did like how they didn't get into the weeds and detail of him doing this, as his story, one important with the CIA, did take away from the main story. Or maybe I just wanted to see the two guys just be friends for two hours there. He's implored to find the girl, as he's guilted as it could be his daughter in another life. So he agrees to work on the screenplay that has been offered to him, and they end up taking LSD, which is the funniest scenes here, when they pair work through the plot of the movie and also have a make-believe adventure. The chemistry between the two actors is clear. Once they get back, Cage does take the opportunity to find where the CIA think the girl is kidnapped, except it turns out that this is a Nicolas Cage museum. I love how Hafi was like, when you see this, you will think differently of me. The centerpiece being a wax statue of Troy Caster from Face Off, complete with his golden guns. And there's also the chainsaw from Mandy as well, which I've been meaning to see. The CIA urged to suggest a kidnapping plot point for their movie as they're working the plot, but Hafi has a talent for story and would realise that it's very out of place and be sus. It's very, very clever as they discuss their movie breaking from a dramedy of two guys into a generic out-of-place action movie, which is very apt as that's where the movie goes, and it goes a bit downhill from there. Unfortunately, I think when the conflict between the two guys happens, I was a bit out of it a bit, but, well, Hafi wants Cage to work on his family baggage as he feels the suggestion of a kidnapping is a byproduct of the issues with his daughter. However, the CIA and Cage have been made by Lucas, and Cage is suggested to kill Hafi to get free, while Hafi is told to kill Cage or be killed himself. We find out he isn't the leader and is disgusted with the kidnapping, and the pair go to face off with one another. See there? It's one big misunderstanding as they escape to save Cage's family, but his daughter has been taken and the CIA people are killed, leaving them to have to save his daughter and the president's daughter there as well. In an outlandish plan, Cage and his ex-wife pretend to be the reclusive Napoli boss as Lucas, and no one knows what it looks like. But he's been made as they're captured as well. But he manages to put a gun to Lucas's head, a reference to the face-off in Face Off, according to the director as well. And they escape thanks to Hafi arriving and have a chase. And I loved how Hafi was with his ride-or-die girl there. But they are lead Lucas into a US embassy, and Lucas is then taken out. I loved how the movie changed to the fictional one played by Cage, and Demi Moore is his wife. Sharon, who plays his wife as well, is great. I love her in some of the British sitcoms. And Cage has managed to balance his acting career and home life by skipping the premiere and references the infamous Wicker Man bees scene when talking about his belt. Overall, I loved this movie. I had an absolute blast watching it. One thing I did think what would happen would be we would see more of Nicolas Cage's characters living in his head. I thought that his decisions would be led by them as like an angel or a devil. But the Nicky guy was funny from his wild at heart era. But it certainly was a great movie. It did dip towards the end, and I think the strongest moments were when Cage and Pedro Pascal were tearing up the scene together. But I won't hold it against it. I had a great time nonetheless. But that is it for this video. Please drop a like down below. Do subscribe with notifications on if you want more from us. And I'll see you soon. Goodbye.